I'm Mia. I'm a producer, a podcaster and a filmmaker. I've struggled with chronic pain for the majority of my life, leading to major surgery at 22 and years of struggling to identify the continuing pain. My own journey has shown me chronic conditions aren't just physical, they're also mental. Eating disorders, anxiety and grief, all being part of it. I want to help people tell their stories of their conditions and the effect they have on their lives, giving voice to what's largely been a silent endemic. Fibromyalgia is a disorder characterised by widespread musculoskeletal pain accompanied by fatigue, sleep, memory and mood issues. Researchers believe that fibromyalgia amplifies painful sensations by affecting the way your brain and spinal cord process painful and non-painful signals. Today, we are joined by Erin. Erin lives in country Victoria with her husband and kids. She lives with fibromyalgia along with endometriosis, PCOS and a skin condition. That's a lot of pain on her plate, and she's very open about her condition on social media, and I expect we'll get the full rundown today. Thank you for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
So tell me about, I reckon, let's just start right at the very, very beginning. When did the pain actually start?
Well, you know, it's funny. I've been trying to think about that for probably the last year or so. And you know how Facebook comes through with memories? Yeah. There's so many memories of me with headaches or pain or sickness going back like years, you know, from when Facebook started. Yeah. So, and when I had a doctor's appointment recently, he said I've probably had it for years.
Wow.
So I can't pinpoint how long, but I do suspect it's probably been since at least early 20s.
Wow.
And I'm now late 30s.
In that time that we don't talk about.
Oh, yeah. So a long time.
Wow. Was it the first thing that you were diagnosed with? As I said, you've got endometriosis, PCOS, a lot of other things going on. Was it the first thing that you were diagnosed with?
No, so endometriosis was the first, and we've suspected I've had that probably since my period started. But it was only until after I had my babies, so I had my last one in 2016, that I finally said, okay, no more contraceptives, no more hormones. I want to be off everything, and I want to find out why I'm in pain horrifically every month, and sometimes by the end of it, it was twice a month, so during ovulation as well. Unfortunately for me, a lot of the endo symptoms and fibro symptoms are very similar.
Okay.
So it was only until I had a conversation with my mum, who's actually got fibromyalgia, and I was telling her about some of the symptoms I've had, because I wasn't talking about it back then. And she's like, you know what, I reckon there might be more than just endometriosis. So that's kind of when I approached it to my doctor and said, maybe we need to look a bit deeper. And that was in 2020, I think. So it's pretty recent.
It's actually quite recent. Like that's a long, long time. As you said, you're sort of, you know, in the late now.
Yeah.
Just want to support you in that.
Thank you.
We're talking, you know, a long, long time to be dealing with the pain. If you're saying, you know, in the 20s is when majority of the pain sort of started. Where was it that made it different to endo? Obviously, pelvic pain is the endometriosis area a majority of the time. Were we starting to feel the pain in joints?
Yeah, so it was probably where I describe it like I start feeling like a gargoyle, where I start to feel like I'm turning to stone, like all my muscles hurt. It's like a deep ache, like growing pains, but I'm way past growing. I think I'm getting shorter, to be fair, but so it's kind of like a deep ache, and it was just happening more often, especially when stress triggers it as well, which is something we could go through a bit later. But, you know, and it was just these little things like chronic headaches. I mean, that is also a endo thing, but also fibro. So it was sort of, I think the aches, mostly the body aches, was starting to go, okay, maybe there's something that's not just endometriosis. And it was only a conversation with my mum that sort of made me aware that, oh, yeah, maybe she's right. I shouldn't record that because she'll use that against me. But, yeah. It's probably something else.
I think that's a really interesting part of it is going, because it's obviously an invisible pain. You can't sort of see any physical symptoms on the outside. But if endo and fibro are so similar, how do you go through the process? How do they diagnose fibro? Because even endo, you get heavy legs is a symptom of endometriosis as well. So how do they find out the differences?
Well, for me, I mean, it is different for everyone. Like most invisible illnesses, everyone has something different. For me, I had a hysterectomy in 2021 in June.
Was that for the endo?
That was for the endo. So that was my first and only operation I had for the endometriosis, because we later found out that, sorry, that's my dog in the background. He heard someone, walk across the road.
How dare they?
Oh, he's small dog syndrome. He's very helpful. So it was sort of, I ended up having one of my ovaries stuck to my bowel. And then I have endo sort of on my bowel, on my bladder, everywhere else. So we thought, I was finished having babies. A hysterectomy isn't a cure for endometriosis at all, but it can help with the symptoms for, even a short amount of time. And I mean, no periods is a huge bonus, I tell you. That should be the number one tick, no periods. So funnily enough, that was the June. In the March, we got a referral to a rheumatologist, who are the ones who can diagnose you with fibro. So being 2021, and we were COVID still, it was August was my appointment. So from June to August, I was able to start realising what pain was perhaps endo and what was fibro, because my endo pain definitely diminished significantly. I still have some pain, but it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be, thank God. So that's been good for me. But just seeing the difference of, the widespread pain, when they say that, it's like, oh, yeah, whatever, that's just really flaky. But it is literally like from your neck down, from both sides, you start to feel heavy, achy, pulsating. Like people say it's like, I have a support group I'm in, and I ask them what they would describe fibro to people who don't have it, because everyone has something different. Like me as a gargoyle, for someone else it's like you've got a cold or you've got the flu but without the sniffles. Yeah. So how bad you feel when you have the flu. You feel run down, fatigued, your whole body aches, usually you've got a fever or whatever. That's what it's like all the time. And that's what I started to feel, because obviously a hysterectomy is quite a trauma to your body, because it's a major operation. And then I got shingles at the same time because of the trauma, because my body's like, hey, here's something else. I didn't even realise I had it. I thought it was a reaction to something. And then the doctor was like, no, that's shingles. Good. And then when you're at the rheumatologist, they say, describe your worst day, because, I mean, another thing with fibro is it's different every single day. You don't know how you're going to feel when you wake up. You may feel great when you wake up. Yeah, that hasn't happened to me. But you may feel better than the day before when you wake up. But as the day goes on, you get worse, or you wake up and you feel like you've been hit by a bus. Yeah. So you go to your rheumatologist appointment, you might be having a good day, so you have to sort of explain the worst day. And for me, it's intense, deep pain in my lower back that radiates down both hips, down my legs, knees, to my toes, all the way down there. Restless legs is a big, side symptom to fibro. And the chronic headaches. I mean, with getting diagnosed, it is the process of elimination as well. Okay. There's no, let's take a blood test and tick you've got fibro, or even let's have a laparoscopy and see if you've got endo. It's basically, we ticked off the endo. Yeah, we know you've got endo, but we got rid of as much as we could. You can never usually get rid of all of it. No, and I mean, endo's being found in every single organ of the body. So, so with the diagnosis and how they test for it, it's like getting all the blood tests. Make sure you don't have arthritis or, anything like that can cause you joint and ligament pain. I had an MRI to make sure that I had a brain. No, what? I do check, and it's creepy. MRIs, if you've had one, they're creepy.
They're super creepy
to have and to see after, but that's a side note. But just to see that I had no tumour or anything causing my chronic headaches, it's hard. They used to do a pressure point diagnosis where they would press on certain points of your body, usually like your joints. And if you had pain in there in at least 11 out of the 18 or something, don't quote me on that, but something like that, then you had fibro. But apparently they have stopped using that method because the thing is today I might have pain in those spots, but tomorrow I may not. So that's why it's so hard. And it is, I think, one of those illnesses maybe people just, go, whatever. It's, because there is no certain blood test or tick or, anything that you can directly say you 100% have this. It is basically, we cannot figure out what you could have, so you probably have this.
Okay. So there's never a set sort of, this is 100% fibromyalgia.
Exactly. I mean, they're doing a lot of studies. There was an article about a possible blood test and all that type of stuff, but nothing solid, and those types of things won't come out for years and years. And there's still not a lot they know about fibro. There's a lot of people that think it's like an immune thing. Or it's a trauma thing, where you have certain types of trauma or different types, whatever, and that will make it worse or tick it off. You've got it sort of sitting there, and then something will, wake it up. And I think the main consensus is that it's what you said at the start. It's your brain, it's your nervous system, it's the brain saying, the flight or what is it, fight or flight? Flight not fright. But your body is always in fight. Like it always thinks there's a danger somewhere, or something like that. It's just always on alert, which is why you're in pain all the time.
I think that's the frustrating part of it is, sort of as I said in my description, we're talking fatigue, sleep, muscular pain, memory, mood issues. That is so general, so general. And even in my research, I looked at it and went, that, as you said, sometimes the symptoms come from a trauma, a physical trauma, it could be a surgery, an infection, some sort of psychological stress. But they also say that doesn't have to happen for exactly long. So what does that even mean? Like it must be so frustrating for yourself and even for your mum as well. So obviously there's some genetic things there. To try and get a diagnosis for something that is so ridiculously general. Like that could have just been like fatigue and a bad sleep could just be stress, or it could have just been, I had a bad day at the gym. I tried too hard at the gym, so my muscles hurt. How do you tell the difference?
Well, that's it. I mean, for me, it was what I personally did because I had to, so we'll probably touch on my work situation later, but I did have to go see an independent rheumatologist. And for me, I have cognitive issues. I always tell my husband, I'm not forgetful. I have a condition.
Yeah.
How dare you? Exactly. I get my words mixed up. I forget stuff. So if I do not write it down, it's dead to me. So I had to write down like possible trauma things that have happened in my life, as well as all my symptoms, which is a lot. But like I've had trauma since when I was 16, I was hit by a car when I was a pedestrian walking to school. Wow. You know, so that was traumatic, I guess. Broke no bones, mind you.
Wow.
I mean,
that's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
You didn't break a bone.
No, I'm impressed. And then in year 12, they think I had glandular fever. I was really sick during my exams. I didn't have a couple of exams, didn't do a couple. It wasn't until I had my first child and he went to Petri dish, also known as daycare. And he brought everything home. And then I caught everything he got. And then I went to the doctor and they said, yeah, you've got markers for, you know, glandular fever. So when I probably had it back then and then, you know, all that type of stuff. So, I mean, that's only two of the traumas. Like, you know, but also like they say, you know, when they say, I say like this is documents or things I've read online, and you've got to take it with a lot of grain of salt, I guess. And a lot of people have, and a lot of professionals have different ideas, especially like endometriosis. There's lots of different chatter on what's best or what causes what or how, you know, whatever. So you've got to really take it with a grain of salt and don't take everything to gospel. But they say that, you know, every trauma can make your symptoms worse, right, as well. So, you know, I've had emergency cesareans and babies. I mean, they're traumatic.
That's traumatic. It's a very big deal to give birth.
Well, that's it. And then have a cesarean, which is literally a major surgery. People forget.
You're awake for it.
I know. I saw my leg fly in the air, and I'm like, whose leg is that? And they're like, that is yours. I'm like, oh.
Oh, good. Great.
Highly recommend epidurals. Oh, sorry. But you got to laugh. That's how I get through my taxes. Laugh.
What else are you supposed to do?
Well, cry, but I'm on really good antidepressants now. So.
Oh, nice work.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said about, you know, a lot of experts have different ideas of what is good and how to diagnose through to, you know, how to make things better for you on an everyday basis. Everything is so different. And obviously you've got the internet on there as well.
Yes.
So you've gone from essentially what I'm finding with a lot of these interviews is that people have already gone in advocating for themselves over and over and over and over again to get these diagnoses. And then once you have that, it's a massive information. How do you trawl through and choose what's best for you?
That's a really good question. I mean, I think the first thing you have to have is a very good GP. Is a GP that even if they don't think you have something, are willing to test because you are advocating for yourself. I mean, 2017 is when I found my GP. So that was a year after my baby was born. And I said to her about the endo and, you know, a couple of years later, the fibro. She's like, great, let's do it. We'll test. We'll give you whatever you want, you know. I even saw a naturopath, and a lot of GPs aren't very happy with naturopaths. I mean, I don't know why, but anyway, that's fine. But it's she was willing to give me the test that the naturopath wanted me to have and all that type of stuff. So she's been, well, a lot of GPs, they know something about everything, but they don't necessarily know everything about fibro or everything about endo. So she's reads a bit to try and get an understanding, but she's like, if you read something and you want to try it, tell me and we'll look it up and we'll have a go. Because I think with fibro in particular, when I was officially diagnosed in that appointment in August in 2021, and first they try you, there's 2 antidepressants for fibro. The antidepressant / they're supposed to help the pain receptors from your brain to your body be less confused, I guess, in layman's terms.
Sure.
So I won't name them or anything like that, but, I tried one and it didn't really help. I found my headache still probably worse, and I didn't find much help, and then I tried the other one. Unfortunately, with every medication, you get side effects. So for me, there's weight gain. There's, dry mouth I had for a little while. Not so bad now. But for me, the positives were better. I don't know if it helped my pain, but it definitely helped my mental health. Because when you don't know why you feel this way and there is no, here, take this tablet and all your pain will go away. It's really, I think the mental side is probably one of the hardest things to deal with, because you just feel like lost, confused, frustrated, and it is the process of elimination. Like I tried chiropractic because I get a lot of tension headaches.
Sure.
So and I get tension migraines. And I have a large bust area. So for a long time, I thought it was perhaps my posture, or, I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something. But, no, it is a fibro thing. So it is interesting finding all this stuff that you just put away to, that's just me being me. No, actually, that's an ailment that comes with fibro. So I tried chiropractic, but that didn't last very long. So I tried osteo. That doesn't last very long. I do a remedial massage twice a month, just because your muscles are always tense and angry. I try, the headaches, you try drinking lots of water. You try and put, they say, well, try and remove the stress from your life. But apparently you're not allowed to get rid of your husband and kids.
Seriously, that is my favourite sentence. Like, have you tried having less stress in your life?
Oh, okay, cool.
Great.
Well, if you could tell the banks to stop putting out interest rates, and also my husband and children just to, just stop.
Stop being a husband and child.
So, bless them. No, they're very good. But, it's kind of like, okay, so for me, I mean, I see a psychologist as well every month, which I think is important because it's acceptance. It's that you're not going to take one thing and it's going to fix you. You're not going to have something that, support groups I really think are great. But what works for someone isn't going to necessarily work for you.
Yep.
And it's trying to be accepting of that. And there's also people who have suffered from fibro and say, I'm cured. You just do this and you're cured. You take this supplement and you'll never have pain again.
Sure.
Sometimes I think that's dangerous because it's not the same for everybody. But then I try and go, okay, well, that's good for you.
Yeah.
But, if that was the truth, we would all be out of pain.
Yeah, it wouldn't be called a chronic condition.
Correct. Yeah, and that's the thing, is trying to accept that it's chronic and that you're going to have it, but it's how you can make your life, I guess, a little bit easier. But it's really hard because one of the big ones that triggers a flare, so that's where your pain is heightened, is stress.
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, you can't not be stressed. There are going to be days that things come up and life happens and you are just going to feel that absolute stress. It's great to hear that the antidepressants and everything are working for you, because I know from experience, if you're feeling flat, really, for want of a better term, you don't have the energy to help yourself. So if you can find something to work with the mental health around it, it's so much better.
I mean, it's not every day that you feel great. I mean, I still have my low days. Yeah, but I mean, I mean, it's the same with endometriosis because that's a condition you can never get rid of. You know, yes, they can cut it out, but I describe it as like slime. Yes. Like, you know, slime when your kids play with it and they put it in the carpet and it's banned in our house. I'm not that fun mum. I'm like, get out. But it's like, it just will spread out and then stick everything together, and you can try and cut out as much as you can. But you know, we'll never get rid of it. So it's sort of, it's acceptance is a big thing. You know, my psychologist has really helped me with that, and try and then go, okay, well, if I am stressed, what can I do to help me not stress as much? But I am a big stressor. I've been unofficially diagnosed with ADHD as well, because ADHD is really hard to, you know, you've got to pay thousands of dollars to get properly diagnosed. So my psychologist said, you know, you do a few tests and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, okay, it all makes sense to me. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, when you're a 38-year-old mum of two boys who are, one of them's about to be a teenager. I mean,
yeah, great.
Stress is my middle name.
yeah. It never ends.
No, exactly.
Have you worked with your psychologist in terms of, I'm asking this because I'm terrible at this, but being able to take that moment to know when the stress is coming before you hit that level 4 anxiety, full-on stress explosion? Like, are you now able to be aware of what's happening within your body and in your mind to, I guess, take that moment to, whether it is to just have a rest, to meditate, to talk it out, to write it down, whatever works for you to calm that stress down?
One of the big things we've been working on at the moment is actually being aware of my emotions. Because I'm a big, like, let's just put that in a little box and we'll deal with that in never.
I love the box.
You know, just like, you know what, I don't want to deal with that today or whatever. I'm going to put that away. So one of the things she keeps telling me to do, which is so hard, is to like sit there and go, well, how are you feeling? How's your body feeling? How are, you know, what's your heart doing? What's your, you know, how are you feeling? And that's weird voodoo to me. But it's, you know, because I mean, like, I don't know, you've always been conditioned to just, put it away, keep going, you know, I've got to be okay for everybody else and all that kind of stuff. I've got to, you know, there's the big mum guilt thing, which I never knew about until I became one. But even just, not even if you're not a mum, just guilt for not being able to turn up to someone's party because you feel really rubbish, or guilt because, you know, you've got headaches all the time and, you know, you can't go to work, you have to call in sick. But it's really going, well, why do I feel guilty? And what can I do to make me feel less guilty? Or what can I do if I'm having a bad day? Do I really have to clean the kitchen and vacuum the floor? The answer will always be yes. But it's like, okay, well, I have to like go, I'll vacuum, but then, you know, I'm just going to go and sit down and not feel guilty about it because I am sore. And I need to rest. Rest is hard.
Yeah. And you're dealing with a lot of things that a lot of other people don't have to deal with every day.
I had asked my husband, I'm like, are you in pain right now? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, it's not normal to be in pain all the time. Like, it's your normal if you have chronic pain and chronic conditions, but it is, I guess, normal to wake up and feel like you're a 90-year-old woman and like, you know, because in the morning you wake with fibro, you wake up, you're super stiff because I guess you've had a really restless night's sleep. I'm jumping around, tossing and turning all night. And I've got bursitis in my hips as well, so I can't stay on one side too long because it hurts, and it's the whole thing. But it's and then you wake up, and for a good half an hour, you feel like a gargoyle until, you know, you start to come out of your stone shell or your ibuprofen starts working. the psychologist, you don't know how much you need them until you talk to them.
Yeah.
I reckon. Because I went 3 months without talking to her. And then I made an appointment because I'm like, oh, I should really do that. And it was just like, you're able to dump all your stuff onto someone that, is getting, paid and knows how to respond and help you.
And you need that. In terms of your everyday life as well, you sort of mentioned it earlier, the fibromyalgia, the everyday pain has actually affected your work life and career. Can you tell me a little bit about what's happened for you?
So I've been working since I was 14, 9 months, back when that was legal. I believe it is now. I think you have to be 15, but apparently. So maybe look into that. But so I was working at Safeway, Woolies, I guess it was Safeway back then, and then got a traineeship and had been with the company that I was just working at for 16 and a half years. So it was a big company, really great. And then when I had my hysterectomy, I went on income protection.
Okay.
And for the 3 months, because it's, hysterectomy is,
it's traumatic. It's a big thing to recover from.
Well, and I had, there was a couple of stitches keeping my insides inside. You've got to be careful. That's like my first advice if anyone has a hysterectomy. It's like, seriously rest, because there is just like 2 stitches keeping all that in there. So, you don't want that falling out. Could you imagine? Sneeze? Oh. Don't imagine that. So with the work, so I was on income protection. I was very lucky to have income protection through my work, so not through my super. Okay. But I believe most people can do it with their super or whatever. And then when I was on leave for the hysterectomy is when I was diagnosed with the fibro. And of course, having another trauma of the hysterectomy and the shingles that I got when I was off with the hysterectomy had made the pain a bit worse. And, not being diagnosed with something for so long means I haven't been able to manage something for so long. Yeah. So the worse it will get. So I was off for over 2 years on income protection through work. Wow. And I mean, that was stressful in itself. Like before I left on income protection, I was working from home. It was a corporate office job. So I worked in the office. I then worked from home during COVID with 2 young children at home, trying to school one and the other one was in kinder. I mean, what a time to be alive. Like, what a time.
Full time at all.
Oh, my husband was out gallivanting around at his work, which was off-site, on site, I should say. So he didn't have to be home. No, the poor guy. He would be crying every day, poor guy. But it was hard. Yeah, so work was good in the way that, they're like, well, you've got this, you've got your certificates. Every 3 months I went and got a certificate from my doctor and all that kind of stuff. And then in March last year, my work bestie died in a car accident unexpectedly.
Oh, wow.
So there's another trauma tick. And I didn't find out for 3 days, and it was just a whole thing. So that it was a lot, and it was the guilt. I mean, it was the guilt of letting my team down as well, with not being at work and being on sick leave for so long. And then it came to a point where I had to, this was this year, and it was June, July, and work told me I had to go to Melbourne to go to a rheumatologist, independent appointment. And before this, my husband and I last year said to each other, maybe we should think about our living conditions as well, because I'm on income protection, so I've still got paid. But income protection only lasts for 2 years. Sure. And then we didn't know what was going to happen after that. Was I going to be able to go back to work? If I did, would it be at, the time I was doing before I stopped work? I'd probably never be able to go back full time, for one. I don't know how people with chronic pain do it full time with families and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I did it actually for years and years and years. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I do not know how I did it back then. But yeah, we decided, so we were living in Geelong, and we decided to sell up and sell our big, beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-story, and just go to rural Victoria, half our mortgage, live in a small town of, I think there's like 1,500 on a good day, and just try and have our, spending down so that if whatever happens with work, I had options. But that's the huge planner in me.
Yeah.
And I hate the unknown. That stresses me out. So, and stuff that I cannot control, I guess. So I couldn't control what this rheumatologist was going to say. I couldn't control what work was going to do, but I could control what our family unit was going to deal with, anything really. And my husband, thankfully, we've been together since I was 20. We're on the same page with pretty much everything. I think, it's kind of creepy sometimes, but so we've always talked about moving out of Geelong as well and go to a small town. So it was kind of like, well, I'm not working, but I'm getting income protection. My eldest was starting year 7, so the next year. So let's just do it. Let's, pull it. We ended up living in a caravan park for 3 months, because we hadn't bought a house. So that was traumatic, but we got there. So that was that. So then I had to have the rheumatologist appointment. So I had to have a 6-hour round trip to go into the CBD of Melbourne for a half an hour appointment, mind you. And I didn't know what to expect. I went on a lot of people have gone through this, but there's no checkpoint on what to do. And I went into my support group, but lots of people have different experiences or different work lives and different, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of taking their advice with a grain of salt, but also being super prepared with all the symptoms I have on a bad day, all the trauma that's happened, all the things that could have been why I'm at this point. And I reckon the rheumatologist half the time was like, what? Okay.
What have you been dealing with?
What? Yeah. And it's not until I tell people and they're like, sorry. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's bad, isn't it? Okay, good. But, he had to be fully independent. And so he was super cold. He's like, I can't tell you nothing. I can't give you any advice. I'm just listening and asking you questions. I'm like, okay. So he was like, tell me your bad day. Can you do, how's your day look? Can you cook a meal for your family? Can you do housework? And I said, well, I've had to move to rural Victoria. I'm gone from a 2 living room, 4-bedroom house to a 3-bedroom, 1 living room, half the size house. So I've got something I can actually, maintain it without killing myself every day. And I can vacuum the house, but then I've got to rest.
Yeah.
Because the bad thing with fibro is if you wake up and you feel good, you feel like, well, I have a list of stuff I haven't been able to do the last week because I felt like rubbish. So I'm going to do it all now. So I tell myself not to, but I do it all the time. My husband came home from work the other day. I was mowing.
Right.
And he's like,
probably
excellent.
Shouldn't have been doing that.
No. And I only got half of it done. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. He had to take over the bull guy. But he's used to that. I'm trying to help, but then I don't help.
Stuff he didn't have to do.
Well, that's exactly right. So, the thought was there. But it's, so then you do all this stuff when you're feeling good. And then for the next 4 days, you can't move because you've done too much. Yeah. And, you feel rubbish and you get headaches and stuff. So, I had to tell him my worst day. And I don't even think I said it all because, you do forget even when you write it down. And when the report came back, I got a letter from my work that said, basically, the highlights of the report. My doctor told me not to read the report because it would be more detrimental to my mental health than better, because it's very cold, clinical, and just, you're not a person, you just, for medical report reasons, I guess. So they don't look at the human side of it, just the, whatever. So my husband did end up reading it. But yeah, he's like, yeah, glad you didn't. I'm like, good. But it basically said the highlights were like, she may never work again. Oh, no. She can't even come back for light duties. And just because I was just doing an office job. So I would be sitting in but I was doing an office job where I was doing technical stuff, but dealing with people of a profession, and I was, it was quite, I had to have a lot of training. There was a lot of problem solving, so a lot of brain stuff. And you were also sitting at your computer for, 8 hours a day in the same position, which isn't good for anybody on a good day, let alone someone with chronic pain in their back and legs and stuff. But seeing that on paper from my job or from my career that I've been trying to build for so long, for 16 and a half years, to say, look, you're pretty cooked, you may never work again, and give us a reason to why we shouldn't get rid of you, was pretty much the preface. So that was tough, I think, because I've always had work there. I was always the one with the steady job because I'd been there for so long, had great benefits, maternity leave, all the rest of it. And to think, oh God, like, what's going to happen now? How am I going to get money? Like, I still have a mortgage. We may have moved to rural Victoria, but we still have a mortgage. My kids are, nearly 13, nearly 8. I mean, there's a lot more $100,000 I've got to pay for them, apparently. They need more than just 2 minute noodles, although my youngest might appreciate that, to be honest. But so it was, and my husband, I think, as well, when you've got chronic pain, you put on a brave face. Like when you have illness, like I look fairly normal. And I did wear makeup today, so I didn't look half dead for you. You're welcome. Because sometimes you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, like, okay.
Who's that? Put her away.
This is what we have to work with today. Excellent.
Good.
No, I'm going to need more tinted moisturiser than the world can provide to fix this. But I think my husband was like, wow, I think he always thought I'd be able to go back to work, and for them to, in plain black and white print, saying, she's in chronic pain all the time. She can only make dinner for her family half the time. How is she supposed to go back to work? Yeah. And I had a few meetings with work, and I mean, I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they basically said I can't work. Like, I don't know how long that's going to be for. And, so I was terminated medically terminated from my job.
Really shit.
It was. I don't know if I've really processed it yet. Oh, that'll be for my psychologist next week. Yeah. Thanks to my dog there who agrees. Yeah. He processes a lot. I bought a depression kitten to make me feel better. Just another mouth for my husband to feed, basically. And the dog's not happy because now he's being bullied by 2 cats, not just one. So that's probably why he barks more. Bless him. But yeah, I don't know if I've really processed it yet, because for me, I haven't been at work for 2 years anyway. So I didn't get a goodbye. I got my stuff sent back to me via courier. I didn't get a goodbye card or a text. It was just, I was ending work on this day. Catch you later. Got my payout. Here's your pay slip.
Wow.
Bye. Not even this is what you do next. Thankfully, I've got friends who know how to adult and I have a friend who is a financial guru and is helping me now with the next step, which is going through my super and getting my TPD insurance, which is, I always forget, total permanent disability. Yeah. So that's like a payout from your super to last you the rest of your working life. However, if you just put that towards repayments for my mortgage, it would last 7 years. And I'm 38. No, so 45 is when you're like retired, apparently.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, so at the moment we're going through that process, and we don't know what the future will hold, because now it doesn't mean I can never go back to work.
Yeah.
I found out, because no one tells you that. No one tells you when you get medically terminated and, you go on this insurance through your super, you can go back to work. It just won't be probably in that, line of work or that. I'd have to probably work casual or something very flexible.
But it definitely won't be to the same capacity. It won't be at the same sort of financial level that you were used to. So it's
I was working at a really big company that paid very well. And to lose that in a economic, like this is what, November 2023. The interest rates just went up again. For the 13th time. And great. Happy years.
That one.
Yeah. I've got two sons who are going through his school, and I've got a husband who has to work now, and he's now the
everything.
Yeah. I'm like, how do you feel about having 6 dependents? He's like, great. No pressure.
He's a good person. He can handle it.
He's I'm very lucky to have a good support network for sure.
Well, I think that's the thing as well is going, let's talk about this support network now. Has there been quite a few changes in terms of friendships and everything? Obviously, let's change it. How is your husband feeling?
Yeah, look, he is a freak of nature. And I mean that in the most loving way, not just because he's a ginger. Bless him, he's cute. But he is just so understanding, and so he works in half an hour away. So he gets home some days at, it depends on what hours you work, it changes, but sometimes he gets home at 5:45. And I am in my chair crocheting because I am 80 years old and a nana, apparently. And a crochet is my thing. But and I haven't done anything for dinner because I've had a bad day. I've been in bed for half the day. And he just has a shower, feeds everyone, doesn't care, just whatever. He's like, our communication is better, definitely. Something with the psychologist is I've had to go communicate with him more about how I'm feeling and how bad I'm feeling, because I may have a bad day, but I just pretend I'm not.
Yeah. And
then how is he supposed to help me if I don't tell him? Because he can't see it because it's invisible. So, and I mean, we've been through a lot as a couple, and we've been through couples counselling, not for this reason, but for other reasons. And I mean, even that gave us a true appreciation of how we both deal with things very differently. But me also being aware that, he doesn't make me feel bad about anything. He doesn't make me feel guilty about anything. He just rolls with it. I think he was a bit shocked when he knew I couldn't go back to work. But now that we're going through my insurance and that, at least the mortgage repayments will be paid for, and we can, at least eat
through it.
Bread, perhaps, at least once a week. But he's just, having him as a support, because he's my person. I don't have, now that we've moved to a completely different town, 2 hours away from all our friends and family, which in hindsight, maybe a bit far. But having his, he's the person I can complain to. He's, he's the father of my children. He's a great father. And he, never makes me feel bad. Sometimes he won't understand. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes he gets a migraine and then goes, how do you deal with this every day? And I'm like, well.
Welcome.
I strut around feeling really good that day while he's feeling rubbish.
Oh, dear.
No, a little bit. But it's like, even I had a friend of mine, say to me the other day, it's like, it's okay, I get it. Like, I know some days you feel bad, some days you feel good. Like, don't ever feel like you have to explain yourself to me.
Yeah.
And just having someone validate that for me. And then I had a new friend in my new town invite me camping for the weekend, which is very out of my comfort zone, I must tell you. But I ended up going, but I had developed a cold, of course, the day before. So all weekend I was feeling absolutely rubbish. I ended up having a meltdown, and Andrew is my husband. Him and I, we argued about our youngest child because he's going through some sort of phase. But she was like, man, don't even apologize about it. Like, I know what you're going through. Like, we don't have to do anything. Like, this camping is just whatever. Like, we don't have to walk. We don't have to, you don't. And just having those people in your life who may not understand what you're going through, but are fine with it. Like, don't make you feel bad. And they're like, look, if you have to cancel last minute, that's fine, I mean, I sounded like a 1-900 caller for at least 3 days. So I'm pretty, like, when we were going to do the podcast the other day, we maybe should have, because it would have been maybe different.
I really wanted to hear the voice.
Yeah, apologise. You missed out. But yeah, it's also going through support, like so I volunteer as a social media person for the Endo Help Foundation, which are based out of Geelong. So I basically just share memes, funny memes that make me laugh. And I also have a blog, and it's just to sort of get my thoughts out there so people understand that invisible illness is just that, it's invisible. And with fibro, it's different every single day. Today...
It's invisible to you as well sometimes.
True, yeah. Yeah. Girl. Just an epiphany. It's just I might use that, write it down, otherwise I'll forget.
Write that one down. It's invisible to me.
Yeah. But it's, it's having the support, like being able to go online as well into the support groups and go, like, this is how I'm feeling today. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, that is such a fibro thing. Or someone I had on the support page that someone had a new ailment, because basically it's like bingo, like, what am I going to get today? Like last year I had a rash. That's beautiful. A great start to a sentence. On my torso for 3 months. And it was called something, I don't remember it, but it was a viral rash thing. Yeah. And I had it for 3 months and they couldn't do anything about it. There was no antibiotics. It was just like, oh, you have this rash because your body's just like, broken.
Was it because it
a
was
little bit
so low?
Yeah. Yeah. Like your immune system is rubbish, I catch all of the things. So COVID's been a big, stress, because I'm, had a husband who was working out of home and bringing that all back. But, it's having the support networks, but also knowing when to take things with a grain of salt and not get too bogged down in other people's, experiences or whatever. Yeah.
And not overwhelm yourself with it. Do the kids understand?
Well, so I've got boys. So and I'm a very sharing parent.
Great.
Perhaps too sharing. Because I wanted my boys, I mean, they knew about endometriosis and periods and stuff at a very early age. I remember one time my mum was coming to look after my youngest, because my youngest was born when my eldest started prep, which great gap, by the way, 5 years, really good. And I was trying to get my youngest out of his cot, and I just got the intense cramping. And then I was on the floor in the fetal position until my mum came, found me, because I was trying to get ready for work, and to give me meds to try and, get me off the floor. I had to obviously call in sick that day. But it's, so they've seen that. So I've always told them about, periods and all that type of stuff, and the pain and all that kind of stuff. And they're very caring boys, but I think seeing that from their father has helped a lot as well, because my husband is one of those men. He is, when you read, what's that book? The Signs of Love.
The 5 love languages.
Language. Thank you. I'm so glad you know what I'm talking about. And, his love language is like acts of service. Oh, so perfect. This man in wintertime will put on my electric blanket in my bed, because I use a lot of heat therapy for my pain. So I'm in the middle of summer. Well, it's not summer yet, but nearly. And I have heat packs attached to me, which is weird. But aircon on, obviously. But heat packs. But in the wintertime, he'll put on my electric blanket, lay out my pajamas flat on the electric blanket, and then put the covers over. So when I go and get ready for bed, my pajamas are warm. Oh. Like, get out. This man. So they say, in all these, we won't pretend that he isn't human and leaves stuff around, Andrew. But, he does, just little stuff like that. Like, I'll wake up every morning, I have a shake for breakfast, because I've got to take all my meds in the morning. Sure. And just having solid food in the morning is not my jam. So I have a shake. He makes it before he goes to work and then leaves it in the fridge ready for me, because I tell him that when he makes it, it's better. Was that so he would make it all the time? Possibly. But also because he does. So, he does all these little things, and then that will teaches my kids that, they do little things like, Mum, are you okay? Do you need a coffee? Do you need a drink? Do you want me to do your heat pack? So, beautiful. They're very... It's hard because you don't want them to... I don't want to miss out on all the stuff. Yeah. Because I'm in pain all the time. I mean, even as I'm a larger woman, I'm overweight and morbidly obese, apparently. I don't know why I had to put morbidly in there, but calm down. But it's, but I don't let that stop me from going into the water and wearing bathers or going walking or whatever. But now that my pain also stops me from doing stuff, I still try and do things, within my limits. And sometimes, of course, I push it because I want to be there for my kids. But also sometimes they'll come home from school, because we had to live across the road from school and they ride to school. They'll come home from school and I'm in bed. And they're very self-sufficient. They get their own snacks. They make their own lunches. They, know that Mum's not feeling well. They'll come and cuddle me, and, it's being open and honest to them, obviously to a degree, because they're still kids. Yeah. I want them to grow up to be great men who look after their partners, whether it be man or a woman, and, be sensitive, know their emotions, but also, be empathetic to those who are dealing with stuff that they don't know about. And we're open as well. Like, my husband's dealt with mental health problems as well, and he lost his brother in 2014, quite young. So it was sort of like being open and honest to the kids that it's okay, that, life isn't what you see on YouTube. I want them to advocate for me, I guess, in a way as well. Like, I try and be honest as much as I can to them without them being overwhelmed with, because my mum, she's been diagnosed with fibro for years, but she also had migraines, like chronic migraines when we were growing up. And she's had many health problems, a lot of health issues that are just, I don't know how she did it as a mum. And being a mum now, I obviously appreciate her in a whole different light. Being a mum and being a mum with chronic pain and illness and stuff. So, and just knowing our childhood was great. But, a lot of times we had to be quiet because mum had a migraine. So, mum was in bed and my sister and I'm the eldest. We would have to, entertain ourselves and do things for ourselves because dad had to work. And it's very similar to, what I'm going through now. So, but mum and dad tried their best to kind of not let it affect us.
Sure.
But I guess they didn't know what it was either.
Yeah.
What they were dealing with. And I mean, the 90s were a lot different mental health-wise and, awareness than they are now. So,
what do you want to see in terms of research and medical around fibromyalgia? What do you hope will happen in the next couple of years?
I think the main one for me is just awareness. I mean, it's interesting being on two sides. So I've got the endo and I've got the fibro. The endo awareness within even the last couple of years has exploded. You see it on the news. I mean, the Endo Health Foundation that I'm a part of, the director is brilliant and she's on the news all the time, and we do fundraising and all this type of stuff. And then I'm with fibro, and a lot of people are not aware of it or think it's made up. That's probably, or there's even professionals on TikTok, which I know is a funny thing to say.
That doesn't seem right.
Perhaps an oxymoron. But there was one on there that said, fibromyalgia isn't real. Like, you've got something else. It's not real, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I've obviously am old enough, you reach a certain age in your life where you're just like, shut up, you idiot. But there could be someone who's younger, just starting out this, journey of chronic pain and stuff, who then sees that and then is like, so they're saying I've got fibro, but this random doctor, which I use very loosely, is saying that, it's not real. And I guess it's, I think awareness, being more aware of it. I mean, a test would be wonderful, but I think we're very far away from that. I think just having people being validated, even with the government, with the disability support pension. It's only been this year that fibro has been accepted for disability support. So here I am, not working, and I'm not the only one who can't work because I've got chronic headaches, I get pain, I get fatigue. Like when they say restless sleep, I have a Fitbit, and I stupidly thought I would see how my sleep was. And I can't remember what the good sleep is, REM or the deep, the REM cycle. It's supposed to be within I don't know, let's say 20 to 30% or something. That's what you want of your whole sleep time. Mine was 7. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, and I take medication to help me fall asleep and to stay asleep, but clearly it's not helping. I toss and turn. Like when I say restless and unrestful sleep, it really is. You wake up feeling worse than when you went to bed. Like at the moment now, at about 1 o'clock, I have to go for a lay down. Not necessarily because I'm going to go for a sleep, but because I'm just so tired, I just go read a book or, TikTok, is good. Because, and how are you supposed to function as a person when you can't sleep properly? So just having having a validated part of, yes, you can get some support from the government if you cannot work because you paid so bad. But even the NDIS, you cannot get anything from the NDIS if you have fibro. So some people have mobility issues, like you can't walk very far. You can't, I used to go to training, like PT training, with an amazing trainer back in Geelong who was brilliant. And she always did heaps of stuff for me to help me with my, what I could or couldn't do, and would change it for me. But having that intense exercise is actually more detrimental to fibro than if you just went for a walk. But going for a walk, some days you can't. Like, you're just in so much pain that you can't. And having, like, for me, we've moved to this new house and it has a 1950s bath in it, which is one of those baths that is, my sink's bigger. And so I don't have a bath. And that was one of my big pain places, before I went and took medication, because I am on opioids to try and get the pain under control. But then obviously being on opioids opens up a whole new realm of difficulties. So I can't get any NDIS support to help me get a bath, so having the awareness and the validation, I think, in the next few years from, doctors and the government, or the, whatever, Centrelink, whatever it is, would just be, I think, life-changing. And then eventually just it'd be nice just to have a little blood test to say, yes, this is what you have.
Make it a lot easier at the start of the process, along with...
Because it takes years, because I've had headaches for years. And even now, when I go on, the Facebook page, so restless sleep, brain fog, fatigue, neck and shoulder pain. So my neck is actually, and this is apparently something that is common in people with fibro, is that my neck is straight when it should be curved, and my back is curved when it should be straight.
Right. Wow.
And so that causes obviously a lot of pain and issues. And then TMJ, which I can't even tell you what that means, but it's basically jaw pain, where you get pain in your joints, in your jaw, in your teeth, and all this type of stuff. That's the symptom that I didn't even know. And it's you're always learning, because they don't have one thing. They don't have a doctor or a checklist to go, yep, this is all the stuff that you have. And, of course, depression, anxiety. And IBS is a big one, irritable bowel. And that's also a fibro thing, but it is a endo thing too. And, that's only, and I think my medication list is as long as my symptoms, because there's a lot of, validate that fibro is a thing, but also having people throwing out misinformation and telling people that what they're experiencing isn't legit. That sucks, and I hope that stops. The more people talk about it, I guess, as well. That's why I want to be on this, and I'm doing my blog and being part of the invisible illness crowd, is to sort of make people aware, not necessarily to feel sorry for me, because, I don't need that. I just want you to know that, I may look fine, but people are dealing with stuff behind the facade, and just to be a bit caring and nice. Just be nice.
Don't assume things that you don't know.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or don't try and make, your pain the same. Just because you had a headache yesterday doesn't mean you know how it feels to have chronic headaches. You know what I mean? It's nice. It's good to have, empathy, but, it's sort of, that's another, I was like, oh, I know what it's like. Yeah, no, you don't.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know this is big for you.
Yes, thank you. I need to lay down now. So.
Okay, go. You have a lie down. From this. I appreciate you giving us your energy and advocating for fibromyalgia, for endo, for invisible illnesses. We all appreciate it. The more noise that we can make about it, the better.
Yes, and thank you so much. This has been good. Hopefully it helps people be aware of it and, be a bit nicer.
Yeah. And having people with fibro to feel just a little bit safer in their own environment.
And less alone. Because it is lonely.
Yeah.
Especially when people are living their lives and you're in pain.
Thank you to Erin for sharing your story with us. You have been so beautiful to chat to. If you are struggling with your own experience with fibromyalgia or want to know more, go to Fibromyalgia Australia. Their website link is in the show notes. If you like us, please follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and of course across your social media on Instagram at Chronic Combos Podcast and TikTok chronic.combos. This podcast was recorded on Waterong land.